Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the School District of the City of Dearborn regular board meeting, Monday, July 24th. We are getting started at 7:08. Thank you for joining us tonight. As we get ready to start, a few comments. You would not really tell it by being in this room right now, but our power is out and we are running off of generators. So a big thank you to Mark Andrews and the district's electricians for giving us enough generator power that it's comfortable right now, temperature-wise in here. But that is also why we're not broadcasting live. You don't have all the monitors on, but we didn't want to have to postpone this meeting. Could I please get a call to order? Roll call.
Trustee Berry.
Here.
Trustee D'Ambrosio.
Here.
Trustee McDonald.
Here.
Trustee Mosip.
Here.
Trustee Petrikov.
Here.
Trustee Watts here. President Thorpe.
Here.
Next, Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. President Thorpe will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will give myself a certificate at a later date. Let's go with the next item, please.
Superintendent's update, agenda items.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, teachers. I see you in red, and that's great. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And, we're very proud of all of our staff here in Dearborn Schools, our teachers to our support staff and everyone. So I'm going to start with our retirements. We have Susan Doyle with over 37 years of service. Bill Baggio Guido, over 36 years of service. Kathleen Hartling, over 26 years of service. Myron Kuryalik, over 26 years of service. Surya Naim, over 16 years of service. And Ruth Sorensen, over 17 years of service. We want to both congratulate them and thank them for their time here in the district, please. And I do send cards to all of the retirees. Okay, I'm going to move along here. I have a very brief agenda. This is the July meeting, and so we kind of keep it brief in the summer. I just wanted to mention about negotiations. I know that's why a lot of the teachers are here, and again, we look forward to hearing from you. We want to settle fair contracts, fair wages for everybody, and we're excited that the state is giving money back that we can give. And I do believe that our staff is underpaid, but the funding comes from the state, and when the cuts occurred years ago, we're now starting to the point where we can give percentages back. So I look forward to continuing with negotiations with the DFT. But I also want to just, there's two items for approval tonight. We have the DSOEA engineers contract that will be going to the board for ratification. I want to thank the negotiating team on DSOEA and our team for working together, and it did get ratified by 100% vote of the engineers this afternoon. The DFSC also will be going for ratification tonight by the board, and then it'll be a vote to the employees. I believe it's next Monday because they have certain rules in their criteria for the union for getting that approved. So I want to thank the negotiating team on all ends, ADSA, I remember being worried that the power might go out at the middle because it was out throughout, and we had extra lights here, and sure enough, some of you remember the click, 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 but we still pursued and got the meeting done so we could get, one of the reasons why we need the July meeting too is to get action items for personnel. It's very important that we get people in place, and so that's why we have this July meeting. So again, I appreciate working together with, I was going to say with the DFT negotiating team, working together. I know it's a lot of time on all ends, our team as well, the DFSE, the DSOEA team and ADSA, and then I know the MFT is also involved supporting the unions as well. So we're glad that we can work together and settle contracts. And I look forward to getting a TA hopefully in the near future with the DFT. Thank you. And that's all. Oh, I have one other thing. on other that was given to me. There is a ceremony that's going to take place on August 16th at Salina. It's called the Title Blooming Possibilities. It's a mural, and the mural represents, it's right on the back of the new gymnasium, and, well, new since 2006. But the mural represents the beauty and importance of the Salina community and its school and seeks to uplift and empower the community going forward. The flowers, many of which reflect countries of origin, symbolize the community's vibrant diversity. The teapot and cups embody community traditions, and generosity, while the bird is a symbol of freedom and hope. The houses embody community vitality and future possibilities. The mural depicts the spirit with the images of students engaged in reading and sports among welcoming homes. The number 29 pays homage to the South End's history and the 29 court trials that secured these neighborhoods and the future generations to come. And there were multiple partners involved. I know the mayor will be there. Some of the donations, the principals were involved, and donations came from Ford Motor Company, the UAW, the Kosh family, Dearborn Sausage, Rotary, and Exchange Club have all supported this effort. So it's a real positive endeavor. And that's all I have, President.
Any board questions before we move on to additional items? All right. I would ask the board if we could amend the agenda and move citizen participation next.
So,
Support.
Motion by trustee Petlicoff, support by trustee Moses.
you need a roll call.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee D'Ambrosio?
Yes.
Trustee McDonald?
Yes.
Trustee Moses?
Yes.
Trustee Petlicoff?
Yes.
Trustee Watts? Yes. President Thorpe?
Yes.
Citizen participation. Citizens wishing to address the board on agenda and non-agenda items for action who are signed in by 7:10 p.m. by submitting a blue card to the board secretary may speak at this time. The board may not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items. Therefore, speakers should not anticipate immediate response to their comments or questions. For the benefit of all concerned, do not mention the names of students or school district employees. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. There is a 3-minute time limit on comments made to the board. The first person, a community member, Maria Fogarasi from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about keeping and preserving our existing historic school buildings, if at all possible.
So, good evening. Can you hear me? Is
Yes.
this good? All right. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Maria Fogarasi. I am with an organization called Preservation Dearborn. We advocate for the historic buildings all across the city of Dearborn. We came into existence almost 4 years ago by giving a mayoral briefing to then Mayor O'Reilly, asking for the Historic District Ordinance to be updated. We don't have an updated ordinance in Dearborn. In September, it will be 4 years since we have started trying. We have published a book. We have 2 social media sites, Facebook and Instagram, where we post research about buildings that we've done, but we still don't have an ordinance in place. And so the fact of the matter is that Dearborn has no protected buildings. People think that some of them are. People think that the Ford Homes District is protected, but it's not. That is a local designation. They're not protected at state level. People think that Fordson High School is protected because it's a beautiful building and there's a beautiful plaque there, but it is not. So we have no protected buildings in Dearborn. So our plea from my group is that when considering the future of our schools, we realize there are infrastructure problems. We realize there are major issues. We realize there are very strong feelings on both sides. But we would just ask that if at all costs, if at all possible, to remember these beautiful historic buildings when we make future decisions. And not only for preservation, but also for environmental concerns. One of our speakers in the past year was a gentleman named James B. Lindbergh, who's a senior policy director with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. He spoke publicly about, quote, the greenest building is the one that's already existing as far as the environment, keeping structures versus tearing them down. So for Preservation Dearborn, I'd like to go on record just advocating for the beautiful historic schools of Dearborn, Michigan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, community member from Dearborn, Mary Bugara, would like to come to speak to the board about building study recognition of school.
Bougia,
Sorry,
Bougia.
Ujea.
So I'm a little bit shorter than Maria. Hello, my name is Mary Bujaya, and I would like to talk about the proposed studies for reconfiguring our school district and relating to the buildings. People that I talk to strongly prefer to keep and maintain the neighborhood school concept and pattern that we have currently. We were surprised to hear of the recommendations to reconfigure grade levels like K through 8 and so forth, and demolish buildings, especially when a great deal of nostalgia is attached to buildings like Fortune High School. And I might go on record say if somebody tries to demolish it, I'll stand in front of it. Anyway, during the 1990s, when I was on the school board, we passed a special millage to renovate Fortson High School. We spent millions of dollars to bringing it up to date with electrical and heating components and codes and technology for students. Special attention was used to make the external renovations reflect the original historic image of the Ivy League College. I know the buildings, the windows especially, they cost a lot more, but when they were finished, they didn't distract from what the historical image was. Our district has had an admirable history of repairing and maintaining our buildings on an as-needed basis. In fact, I just heard someone talk about bringing security technology into our buildings. The proposal that was recommended, mentioning a central campus instead of the 3 high schools that we now have, was the most disturbing prospect. After the tragic shooting incident at Oxford High School, why would we want to have all of our high school students in one place? I can just imagine the chaos of parents trying to retrieve their children instead of having the 3 neighborhood high schools that we have now. And I would say until there is actually demonstrated decline in enrollment in our buildings, I don't think our citizens would look to pass a millage that's going to tear down buildings. So I hope that you will think strongly and know that people that I talk to want to continue the neighborhood schools that we have, and we're willing to pay for them, to repair them.
Thank you.
Next, employee Mike Lowe would like to come to speak to the board about the DSOEA contract.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Mike Lowe, representing the DSOEA, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank the board, our superintendent, and his bargaining team. I can say we are extremely proud to bargain where both the association and the district led with our superintendent's message of students first. Working together as a team, we built new language based on efficiency to promote stability for our students and community while paying close attention to improving ways to maintain our aging infrastructure. We feel the partnership we are creating with this administration is honest, forthright, and easy to communicate new ideas. We look forward to growing our partnership and to continue to provide the district the support necessary to carry out daily operations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, employee Tom Brown would like to come to speak to the board and about a big thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Maleko and board members. My name is Thomas B. Brown. My students call me T Breezy. Normally I get 57 minutes to talk to people, but I know I gotta go quick here. So you see many of my colleagues here wearing red tonight. I've been at Dearborn High School 29 years, and my whole wardrobe is black and orange. So that's why I'm wearing this today. All right. In 29 years at DHS, I've taught chemistry, physics, biology, earth science, computer science, and AP environmental science. I'm a science teacher. I've also coached dozens of seasons of cross country and track, and I sponsored the Ultimate Frisbee team for over 20 years. I like to run. In fact, I ran 6 miles with my girls' cross-country team this morning. My license plate says Run DHS. Dr. Maleko and I met at the Technology Advisory Committee many years ago, back when he was a vice principal. I'm usually the only high school representative at these meetings for the past 28 years or so, and I felt it was important to be there. I was selected as Teacher of the Year in 2017. Dave Mustison can verify that. Sorry, Dave, I messed up your name. And I was Teacher of the Decade in 2020. Adam Martin can verify that. Thank you. Before becoming a teacher, I was an environmental consultant, doing environmental testing all over the country. And before that, I was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. Over the years, I've appreciated Dr. Maleko's continued support for our military on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. I've only been to a few board meetings before. The last one was where a DHS teacher was being transferred to another school. We were assured by Dr. Maleko that DPS supports its experienced teachers. So thank you for 29 years. It's been great. I was hoping to make 30 at DHS before full retirement, but it looks like it may not turn out that way. As a cancer survivor and the oldest teacher at DHS, I've learned my limits and to take sick days when I'm actually sick, but save days for potential long-term illness. I try to stay healthy. I ran 6 miles this morning, but it doesn't always work out, especially with RSV and COVID running rampant through the schools at times. I was called into the principal's office on June 15th during final exams. There, Courtney Pletsky was waiting with Principal Jabril to tell me I'd taken too many sick days and that I'm hereby surplused. Then on my birthday, June 20th, I received a nice email from her telling me that I'd been reassigned to Stout Middle School. I've never been to Stout Middle School. I know that DPS and the state of Michigan are trying to recruit and retain good teachers, but I'd like to say it sure doesn't seem that way. Thank you.
Thank you. I would ask the speakers to please refrain from using any names.
Next, employee Sarah Fininsky would like to come to speak to board about negotiations on a fair teacher contract. Apologies for the last name.
That's very hard to follow up. I'm speaking on behalf of Ann Joachim. She could not be here today. Dear members of the Dearborn Public Schools Board of Education, I'm writing to you as a concerned citizen and a veteran teacher with Dearborn Public Schools. I want you to work on behalf of the people who belong to this community and negotiate with the DFT 681 team to create a teacher contract that is competitive and fair. This past school year, I experienced the effects of having a non-competitive contract. We lost approximately 1/3 of our building staff to other districts or businesses. They left. Excellent veteran teachers who had historically invested in our PLC process, our students, our community for years, and it was preventable. You now have a choice and an opportunity. Teachers are telling you what they need, not what they want or hope for or wish they had. What they need. Dearborn Public Schools spends a huge percentage of its budget on teacher salaries. But when you don't provide a competitive salary, quality working conditions, and the support that teachers need in order to do 100% of what the job requires, they will leave. And that has an impact on who is left in the district. And the result? That very expensive line item in the budget dedicated to teacher compensation is watered down. You cannot spend $80 and expect to get $100 of purchasing power. You have been elected to occupy a seat at a table so you can make a difference. When you work for the benefit of teachers, the investment comes back to the community 100-fold. Stop arguing with teachers about what they should want and provide teachers with what they say they need. We aren't greedy or unrealistic. We are qualified, invested, and ready to show you what unified teachers can do when we are respected and valued. Are you ready to invest in the future of Dearborn with a competitive contract, or are you going to nickel and dime yourself out of the market? Ann Joaquin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, parent Joanne Napa from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about teachers. Joanne Napa. Next, Andrew Petrucia, employee from Waterford, would like to come to speak to the board about having certified teachers in the classroom.
Evening, everybody. I just came real quick to mention that I have worked at Smith since 2017, and every single year I have been there, there has been a long-term sub occupy a classroom for more than half of the school year. If we do not get the competitive contract that we as a union are fighting for, we are not going to fix that problem. Every year when we have those certified teachers not occupy those classrooms, the students lose out. So if we are truly going to be students first, that needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Jennifer Abuzar, community member from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about community.
So I am both a community member and an employee. I wanted to share my story with you. I moved to Dearborn in 2004 with a 6-month-old and a 6-year-old. I knew when we bought our house that it would be the community our children would forever call home. It was fairly obvious to me from our first impression of that the city of Dearborn was an incredible community, and the people who lived here valued the community that they lived in. My first experience with Dearborn Public Schools was as a parent, and it was obvious to me that the school system also reflected the value of community. My children were raised in this district. I have enjoyed being a member of this community for almost 20 years. I have been a teacher in this community for 12 years, and this fall will be my 7th year as a teacher in Dearborn Public Schools. I love living and working in Dearborn. Being a teacher has never been an easy job, but over the past few years, we have seen fewer and fewer teachers enter the profession. We've seen veteran teachers leave the profession, and we've all watched school districts have a hard time making sure that highly qualified teachers are in place in their classrooms. This means that opportunities for qualified teachers to move districts are abundant. I love this community that I now call home. I love being a part of the biggest small town. I don't want that sense of community to change. The school district and all of the services it provides to the community are the basis for what makes a community great. Of course, as a teacher in the district, I want a fair contract, as fair a contract as possible. When I was hired into this district in 2017, I felt incredibly supported by my administration and my school board. Today, I feel less so. The divisive nature of the contract negotiations have not made me feel confident as an employee, but more importantly, they have not made me feel confident as a community member. I want to live in a community with a strong school system that gives their teachers the best contract they can so that their community stays strong and teachers don't leave to surrounding districts with better contracts. Please make sure that the contract you are offering your teachers reflects the community you are trying to build. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Ashmahan Masra from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about contracts. She's a parent, community member, and employee.
Hello, my name is Asmahan. I am a Dearborn graduate, Dearborn resident, parent to Dearborn school students, and teacher. This district always claims that they are students first. Unfortunately, they are not living up to the students first motto. You cannot put students first when you have substitute teachers in classrooms. You cannot put students first when you don't provide appropriate or equitable classroom funding. You cannot put students first when you don't give teachers enough planning time. You cannot put students first when you don't address behavior issues across the district. You can't put students first when you have high teacher burnout. You can't put students first when teachers don't have the amount of 6 days needed to take care of themselves or their families. You can't put students first when we are losing teachers to higher paying districts. You cannot put students first when teachers do not have a fair contract with competitive pay. You cannot put students first when you are constantly putting teachers last. We deserve a fair contract. It is time to pay your teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Carla Tennant, a community member and employee from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about making Dearborn one of the top districts in the state again.
Good evening. I am a born and raised Dearborn girl, went to school here, raised my daughter here, proud to teach here. This is going to be my 27th year in Dearborn. I have always been so proud of the education I had here. I've been proud of the education I've given here. I've always felt that Dearborn was one of the top districts growing up. I was so proud of it. I'm not sure that people can say it quite as much as we used to. I truly believe we can get there again. But to do that, you have to show value in your teachers. We spend so much time, more than the typical 9-to-5 job, and ours is supposed to be less than that. We need to retain our current staff. Your long-term teachers need to feel valued and appreciated. Years ago, when the district was struggling, we gave back at one point, I gave $10,000 back, and it took me years to get that back. It was just a couple years ago, actually, that I got back to that point. Many teachers had freezes for years. New teachers stayed at that first beginning rate for a very long time. Now that we're in a better position, now that the district is in a better position, the state is supporting you more. It's time to support us more. You need to show us how much you value us. Our salaries need to be commensurate with the other neighboring districts, which have gotten significant raises this year. It's time to show us that you care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Susan Rocky, an employee from Grocia, would like to come to speak to the board about teacher retention and contract negotiations.
Hello again. We've heard it over and over again tonight even, students first. We as teachers have chosen to make that our priority every day in our schools. I am a career teacher. I am a veteran teacher in year 29. I have chosen to work in Dearborn schools since 2006. During the summer, along with spending some much needed time with my family and on self-care, I have always focused on improving myself as a teacher, not coming to board meetings to speak about these items. I'm used to taking classes, attending and presenting at professional development, teaching summer school tutoring, reading up on the latest best practices and fun teaching strategies, and collaborating and having fun with colleagues. Last month, feeling disrespected brought me forward to directly speak to you all, and now I'm back, feeling overlooked and undervalued. That's why I'm here again. Putting students first means you must focus on retaining teachers. Our district speaks to this in our school website, so there's no need to quote statistics. We know what they are. How will you retain these dedicated teachers who are here and who have chosen to remain up to this point? We are already part of the Dearborn Public Schools family, and we deserve a fair and competitive contract. Your current teachers are your best asset. As a proud member of the O.L. Smith family, we exemplify what our district believes in. We are revamping, promoting, and growing best practices in co-teaching, creating a middle school MTSS process that has all teachers on board, wanting more time to implement and improve it. We are developing and running intervention and enrichment classes for all students, collaborating in the PLC process above and beyond what is expected. We work in true teams, general, special, educators, support staff, to recognize all students are our students. We mentor new hires and we supervise those student teachers you're trying to attract. Oh, and by the way, we're teaching while we do all of this. All of your schools are doing amazing work putting students first, using the district initiatives that we know and we've learned. Retaining teachers matters. The question is, does our district believe that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Sue Kusner from Wyandotte would like to come to speak to the board, an employee, about staff retention and studying the exit interviews by professional business anthropologists to make Dearborn one of the top districts in the state.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to, well, I lost my notes. I want to address retention. It's been on my mind ever since I've worked in Dearborn because of the revolving door of therapists coming, therapists going. I'm a physical therapist in the special ed department. And many of them, there were several years that we ended up having contract therapists only because we couldn't hire any because of the PTs now graduating with a doctorate degree. Our salary as teachers was not competitive enough to offer them cost of living above and beyond the loans that they had to repay. So we did have one therapist come, and she did work for us for a year, but she was enticed back to Detroit for a much higher salary. And this was brought up to our coordinator, and nothing was basically done about it or discussed with her beyond that. So she was a little bit surprised that she didn't even have a discussion with the coordinator at the time. I know several, we talk about retention, we talk about exit interviews, and we're an educational institution. And so why don't we look at these exit interviews as a professional basis to study, not assume, oh, they just left because they're going for a higher salary, or, oh, they weren't disrespected. How could they be? We're all wonderful. But to actually look at the exit interviews, I know Ford Company is doing anthropology reports and studies to figure out what they're going to pursue in the near future. How do we know exactly how many disgruntled staff left, either teachers, therapists, resource room teachers, or social workers? I know many that have left, and they were excellent employees, and they were excellent for Dearborn schools. And now they're giving, and plus, we have to look at how much money was put into training these people that Dearborn is losing. We're losing all that money as they walk out the door to give their expertise to another district. So I do want to bring up the fact that I have been talking with someone who suggested that a business anthropologist would be a person to find out exactly why people left, what percentage of people left that were disgruntled, and even looking kudos to the Human Resources Department with regard to bringing back the one time a few board meetings ago as to why people returned. We can actually then look at the percentage of the people that have returned and those that have left professionally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Kathy Martin, DFT President, would like to come to speak to the board about future contracts.
Good evening. Before I start, I do want to say that prior to contract negotiations, we sent a very long survey out to membership, and every single thing we are asking for in our contract negotiations was requested overwhelmingly by members. So this is what members want. This is what they need to stay. I was hoping tonight's meeting would be you all voting on accepting our contract. But unfortunately, that's not the case tonight. Our platform is Let Us Teach: Time, Equity, Accountability, Compensation, and Health. Our main goal for this contract is to solve issues that are causing us to lose staff at very high rates. The loss of highly qualified and seasoned staff has resulted in many classes being staffed by long-term subs or a series of long-term subs. Our community wants our children educated by professionals who have been trained to educate. Many of these subs, who are great people, have no background in education. We've had subs who are pre-med or chemistry majors. They know nothing about the science and art of teaching. This, in turn, places extra pressure on the teachers to help these substitutes or revolving door of subs. With the new state guidelines, the district has now started hiring under emergency certifications people with no background in education if they commit to obtaining a teaching certificate in 5 years. It's great that we're staffing our classrooms, but why don't we make every effort to keep the great educators we already have? In this climate where the job market is great to shop around our skills, we need to make Dearborn the district that no one wants to leave. We already know there aren't many educators in the pipeline. Let's hold on to the ones who have devoted most of their careers to our students and families. Our community deserves the best school district in the state, and we are falling short. Educators are not respected or valued, and they are going to other districts where they're treated like professionals. We have been meeting with the district since March, and progress has been slow. I hope the district starts to look at this contract as a way to solve these very obvious problems and takes all of the DFT solutions into serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Kathy Loris, employee from Canton, would like to come to speak to the board about teaching.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Maleko. I'm here tonight to talk to you about teaching. Teaching is quite literally a fully immersive experience. It requires 100% engagement on the part of the teacher to do just that, to teach. The word teach simply cannot be done without all the letters in its place. The first letter T is for time. Teachers need to have both instructional time as well as planning time. Prioritizing time is necessary as during these periods, us teachers are busy writing lesson plans, grading assignments, deciphering the data to know what our students grasp as well as what they struggle with. One important period of time is 5 years. 30% of new teachers leave their position within 5 years. 8% leave the education profession forever. Another period of time is the length of the school day. During the school day, a teacher has many important roles that we play. I'm an instructor teaching academic, social, and emotional content. I'm a counselor mediating conflicts between students, between groups of students, and even between their family members. I'm a nurse providing first aid to those who get hurt while they're with me, caring for those students who become sick while they're at school in my care, and even this year, providing direct medical assistance to diabetic students. I'm a special needs teacher, providing support services for all of my students who can't receive the assistance they need due to all of the unfilled special ed positions that we have and the overly high caseloads of the special ed staff we actually do manage to hold on to. I'm an extra parent providing love, hugs, and a safe space for children to be on a daily basis. Despite having all of those jobs that I mentioned, there's an unknown author who stated that teaching is not a service, a profession, or a job. It's a pillar to society. The next letter in teach is E for equity. Please be careful not to mistake this for equality. The district ensures everything's equal for our students. They supply a desk, a chair, and on occasion, even a highly qualified and certified teacher. However, it's the teacher who goes on to be sure that everything is equitable. We tailor our lesson plans to reach across all cultures and to meet all of the diverse strengths and weaknesses. While we're doing that, it leads us to the next letter, A, for accountability. We ensure fair outcomes, treatments, and opportunities for all of the students that we serve, and we expect the same from you in return, to treat us like the leaders and professionals that we are. One of the ways you can do this is with compensation. It's vital that it remains competitive to attract new teachers, being that teachers nationwide are paid nearly 20% less than our same college-level educated professions, which is ironic considering you cannot have one profession without literally a teacher being there first. The last letter, H, is for health. It's a known fact that when students are healthy, when teachers are healthy, their students do better. There's absolutely no way to put students first when you put those of us who teach last. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Muna Masra, parent, community member, and employee from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about a teacher contract.
Hello, my name is Muna Masra. I'm a Dearborn graduate, a lifelong resident, a parent to Dearborn students, a school psychologist within the district, and I'm also the DFT affiliations vice president. I'm here today to speak about contract negotiations. While I'm happy to hear Dr. Maleko say that you guys are ready to give us back some percentages, I really hope to actually see that. The Dearborn Federation of Teachers contract expired on June 30th, and we continue to negotiate with the district and the board. DFT educators have put the district on their backs through a global pandemic, the reopening of the world, and continue to be on the front lines of the post-COVID era in which we continue to experience significant challenges. In times of financial difficulties, teachers took pay cuts, increased workloads, and made sacrifices. Now, in a time of financial abundance, this school board must honor their educators with adequate and safe working conditions, address workload concerns, and provide competitive salaries that retain their veteran teachers. We have been hit twofold by the teacher shortage. Once by the reduction in educators that are actually in the workforce, and again by the exodus of staff leaving for higher paying districts. The union surveyed its members, and we know what will retain our educators. Our members have driven the proposals we've made to solve problems and move our district forward. Now is the time to make a commitment to staff and students. You can't put students first if you put teachers last. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Iman Nara, employee from Dearborn Heights, would like to come to speak to the board about contract.
Hello. I might not be as eloquent as some of these other people, but I would start with quoting "White Men Can't Jump." I hope you're hearing us and not just listening to us. I'm not going to really talk about what happens in the classroom. You all know that. I know a lot of you, whether it's through being a teacher or colleagues or whatnot. I'm going to talk about what happens after, outside of the school day, and just what at Fortson we were able to accomplish this year outside of the school day. At the beginning of the year, we raised $10,000 for a elementary student with cancer. And then in January, I went in front of the staff and I said I wanted to raise money to buy a student in a wheelchair accessible van so that she could go to college. Irene, thank you, reached out. We were able to accomplish that goal because of Fortson staff spreading the word within 6 months. We gave her van 2 weeks ago, I believe. That was Fortson staff coming together as a community. Your teachers are a community. We're not just working in the classroom from 8 to 4. Everybody here today was dreading the fact that we might not have air conditioning. I go to school every day, regardless of what the temperature is, knowing I don't. And I'm not complaining about that because I sit with the kids who also don't have it. We have a special needs prom every year that the community comes together to hold. The teachers that come up to me that ask me, what can I do? How can I help? These are things outside of our contractual day that we do because we love our students. We've been doing this because we love our students, obviously not for the pay. Being poor doesn't make us any more passionate. I shouldn't have to consider, when considering retirement in a few years, it should be on whether or not I've lost my passion for teaching, not whether or not I can afford to put a roof over my head. And that's honestly what it's coming down to at this point. So I'm asking you to truly hear what we are saying, and wherever the division is, to figure out a way to make it so that we can all continue to do what we love and not have to sacrifice our outside lives. Just listening to the people behind me talk before the meeting, every single conversation was about either the second job they're working over the summer or what they're doing to make themselves a better teacher. We shouldn't have to think about second and third jobs when you want us to come back at our best in the fall. So please consider everything outside of the classroom that your staff is doing for you, because they love the kids, not for the money, and allow us to have a living wage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Adam Smith from Ypsilanti, an employee, would like to come to speak to the board about a fair contract and competitive pay for teachers.
Dear members of the board, my name is Adam Smith, and this past year was my first year as a language arts teacher at DHS. I'm so glad that I took the job because I really love my students and I love my coworkers. As teachers, we work hard all year round, just as was being said, to make sure that we are providing our students and the students of this district the high quality education that they deserve. In fact, my PLC has continued to meet over the summer, even though the school year is over. We've continued to meet over the summer to discuss how we can do even better next year when the school year starts. However, as we all know, the cost of living has dramatically increased over the course of the past year. Our salaries are being stretched thin. We deserve a fair contract that includes a competitive salary so that we can keep our attention focused where it matters, on our students. Please let us teach.
Thank you.
Next, Alan Farhood, an employee, would like to come to speak to the board about teacher morale and retention in regards to negotiating the current contract.
Hello. One of the things I try to teach my students, the things you do in the short run have a long run impact. And so the short run decisions that we're going to make about this contract are going to have a longer than a 5-year impact with this district. The manner in which the district negotiates and the final contract will have a lasting impact on the district, its employees, and the students. The district tends to use the same old playlist during every contract, presenting the same roadblocks instead of viable solutions. Not enough funding or projected future funding shortfalls from the state. Projected increases in the retirement system rate. Teachers being surplused. Increased class sizes. Projected decreases in student enrollment. Lip service is often given to express appreciation for the teachers. But when it comes to fairly compensating teachers, we're often marginalized. The true long-run cost of this contract, teachers retiring early or staying on, the ability to recruit top teachers, new teacher retention, the reputation of the district, the quality education that our students receive. Many of the issues the board has seen in the past years are a result of contracts that are no longer competitive. Again, short-run decisions will have a long-run impact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Ramsey Asohati, parent and community member from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about teacher retention.
Good evening. My name is Ramsey. I am a lifelong Dearborn resident, a taxpayer, and a parent to 3 Dearborn school students. As a parent, I am sick of losing teachers to other districts and having substitute teachers for my kids. Every Dearborn student deserves certified teachers in their classrooms, not subs or people with emergency certifications. Our kids deserve to be taught by their teachers that have built relationships with them instead of losing them to other districts. In today's board report, you are ready to spend $1.4 million on new security cameras and more security guards, but you can't pay your teachers? The district is willing to spend money outside the classroom, but now it's time to spend money inside the classroom. While our kids are suffering, you blame a teacher shortage instead of doing what is necessary to keep our teachers here in Dearborn. We want certified teachers. We want our children to flourish. There's an economic cost to that, and as a taxpayer, I say, pay our teachers now.
Thank you.
Next, a student, Anissa El-Sohati from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about teachers.
Hi, my name is Anissa El-Shohati. I am a high school student at Fortson, and I attended Eunice Middle School and Henry Ford Elementary School previously. I came here to support my teachers. My teachers help me by paying attention to my needs. They explain anything I don't understand. They make sure I'm not too overwhelmed and are very understanding. They also help me to catch up when I'm behind in class. They've nourished my love for violin, science, and reading. My teachers have helped me so much, and they mean so much to me. I've had some of the best teachers leave to take jobs elsewhere. Losing such wonderful and supportive teachers has been devastating. The district owes it to us, the students, to ensure we have the best educators that will support us and nourish our minds. I'm asking you to do what is right. Pay our teachers and ensure the future of our schools. To all my teachers, past, present, and future, know that your students appreciate you. If it was up to me, you would be the highest paid profession, period. I love you all.
Thank you.
Last, Jawan Nabha, parent from Dearborn, would like to come to speak to the board about teachers.
Good evening. I know I only have 3 minutes, so I'm gonna try to get through this. I had a speech prepared, all this. What I have here are teacher testimonies from across the state of how some feel about working in this district, not only this district, but Lincoln Park and Lakeshore schools. And we're gonna see some of the differences that people have shared. I'm gonna first start off with Dearborn because that is the district we're in. So one said, always negotiate, but also that is the worst district I've ever worked for. Someone else wrote, same. Dearborn is the worst district you've worked for? Yes, that district has some real corruption. That's unfortunate. I really like it. Someone else wrote, let's see here. I don't teach there, but I do know that their contract is terrible. Someone else wrote, let's see here what somebody else wrote. I would steer clear. Have not heard great things recently. One of my rock star new science teachers, student taught there. They offered her a job and she turned it down. Another person wrote, when I interviewed in Dearborn, they wouldn't even tell me the salary until I went in to sign the contract. I said, no, thanks. Someone else wrote, I had the same experience. Another person wrote, same. And this is coming from like a board, like a, what is it called? Like a chat board where teachers go. So another person wrote, also keep in mind, Dearborn's contract expired at the end of June. The union is still in negotiations for a new one, okay? And then there's something cut off here. Someone else wrote, I worked there soon after the new salary schedule was announced in the fall of 2021. I had 13 years of experience and tried going to the board for more money, but because even though it was a pay raise from what I had, I still didn't think it was fair to me to pay me the same as a brand new teacher. It was not approved, but things may change. I'm going to go into Lincoln Park schools now because I think that's enough negativity. Let's see here. Someone wrote, let's see there. Their contract is incredible. And mind you, they have 100% teacher union participation and one of the strongest contracts in the state. And why does Lincoln Park have a better contract than us? Why? We have way more funding. Why? Another person wrote, do they accept experience from other districts, or are you starting at step one? Someone else wrote, starting at the top gave me all my years. Someone else wrote, good for you, finally some win for teachers. So many positive things said about Lincoln Park School. Someone else wrote, I'm a teacher at Lincoln Park. I love it. Contract is amazing. Another school district mentioned Lake Shores Public.
Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you very much.
Get on it and pay your teachers. I don't want to come back up here.
Also, I just wanted to mention that we had those employees or community members that did not wish to speak, and board members and everybody else, that it was in support of a competitive contract. So thank you.
All right. Board member commentary from citizen participation. One thing that I would mention from the first cards that were read about historic buildings and neighborhood schools. No decision has been made yet. The board's going to be talking later on tonight about the next steps. And it'll be that in some form, it'll go to the community to see what the community wants to do about the infrastructure of the district. Anything that you wanted to comment on?
I appreciate the comments with the teachers, and again, we want to continue to bargain, and hopefully we can settle this contract soon, but we value, all the teachers, as I mentioned in the beginning, and when it comes to, placement and layoff and recall and things like that, I know it can get very emotional, especially when you're in a building for a long time. There is a numeric formula, but we'll look into that to see what occurred.
Question about the other blue cards. The current laws state that blue cards that are written do not have to be read fully. They just have to be summarized. And all of the blue cards you said were in regarding the contract.
Yes.
In support of getting a new contract, a new fair contract. It does not.